Welcome everyone to Scheller Lunchtime Live, a live stream series hosted by the Georgia Tech Scheller College of Business. My name is Lindsay Kane, and I'm the Associate Director of Client Relationships for non-degree executive education programs. On select Fridays at 12 p.m. Eastern, you'll have the chance to hear from Scheller faculty, student, and alumni speakers as they discuss relevant topics for the tech-driven digital age. At Scheller, we're proud to offer undergraduate, MBA, and PhD programs, along with open enrollment and custom executive education programs. It's my pleasure to introduce Ashish Arya, a Scheller undergrad and MBA alumnus and the Global Head of Strategy and Marketing for Travel and Tech at Pinterest. Ashish is responsible for increasing awareness, demand, and comprehension for Pinterest's advertising solutions. He creates world-class marketing programs and represents Pinterest as the chief spokesperson in market. Prior to joining Pinterest in 2017, he spent his career building some of the world's largest brands, including the Coca-Cola Company and Starwood Hotels and Resorts worldwide. Today, Ashish will discuss why social media needs positivity more than ever, how Pinterest prioritizes positivity, helps deliver inspiration, and why the travel industry is ready for a comeback. As always, feel free to ask questions in the comments section throughout the session. Ashish will address as many questions as possible at the end. Over to you, Ashish.
Cool. Thanks. Hi, everyone. As Lindsay mentioned, my name is Ashish Arya. I lead global strategy and marketing at Pinterest for the travel and tech industries. I'm especially excited to be here today as a GT grad with both my undergrad and my MBA from Scheller, as does my wife, whom I met at Georgia Tech. So our Arya household has as much love as we do degrees for Georgia Tech. So to set the stage, today we're going to talk about three things. Number one, why social media needs positivity. Number two, delivering inspiration matters. And number three, I'll talk about how the travel industry specifically is ready for a comeback. More nights last year than I'd like to admit, I found myself doom scrolling, mindlessly thumbing through my feeds full of scary statistics, grim updates, and fear-inducing ads. I'm sure many of you have felt this same feeling. It's exhausting, and it did nothing to help mounting anxieties. Well, we're not alone. 60% of adults surveyed agree that some parts of the internet feel dark and scary. What it comes down to is we're addicted to this behavior. But is it actually what we're craving? Turns out, not so much. In the wake of an intense 2020, we polled consumers to find out what they want from the internet right now. And we heard loud and clear that they're craving a different kind of online experience. Our first-party data on Pinterest proves this to be true. Trending positive searches include spread positivity, which is up 3 times, positive habits, and positive mindset, both up nearly 60%. People are seeking more positivity than ever. And it's not just a consumer argument anymore. If you're a marketer, your brand needs to pay attention too. Our research shows that positive online environments have a halo effect on the brands that show up there, from awareness and sentiment to trust and purchase. In fact, 6 out of 10 adults agree that they're more likely to remember a brand, feel positive toward the brand, trust the brand, and ultimately purchase that brand when they see it in positive spaces online. Gone are the days when consumers will turn a blind eye to negative neighboring content. Our research shows that in a post-COVID world, the context in which your brand appears matter. 2 out of 3 adults agree it's a brand's responsibility to advertise in a safe, positive place and avoid negative content. I think this quote summarizes this point well. When I see brands in negative and unsafe places, I start to lose my confidence and trust in them and that they come from a good place. As a result, I would be less likely to purchase from them. In addition, our latest research says that adjacency matters more than ever. If your brand or ad actually appears next to harmful content, consumers will trust this brand less and assume that the brand endorsed that content. It'll also negatively impact their perception of the brand. So in a world where people are craving more positive spaces online, how can a brand win? Enter Pinterest. Our mission is to bring everyone the inspiration to create a life they love. Our goal is lofty. It's to become the world's inspiration company. We don't measure success in how long people stay on our platform. We want people to get inspired and go do in the real world. Go build that project, cook that meal, design that space, take that trip. For those of you that have heard Pinterest but are unfamiliar how it works, let me play a quick video that will take you through some of the experience.
Pinterest is where people discover ideas for their lives. Here's how it works. This is Enid. She lives in New York City. Enid loves street style, photography, cooking, and travel. This is a pin. Pins are most commonly viewed in Enid's home feed, or when she searches for ideas using keywords. The more pins she saves, the more personalized her experience becomes. Enid organizes saved pins into groups called boards. Lately, she's been saving a lot of travel ideas for her next trip abroad. But this pin isn't just some picture. It's an ad from visitwales.com that links directly to their website where she can plan her next adventure. Personalized inspiration, where you can take action on the ideas you discover. Okay, those are the very basics, but there's so much more. More formats, like video and carousel. More use cases, from tattoo inspiration to party ideas. And more ways to discover, like searching, with visuals. Hundreds of millions of people use Pinterest to find inspiration to create a life they love. No matter what kind of business you're in, your audience is waiting to be inspired. That's the power of Pinterest.
So I hope that video showed how Pinterest works and how we help deliver personalized inspiration. It was also clear in that video that on Pinterest, people feel positive. It's not about what others are saying or doing. It's about you. 8 in 10 pinners go to Pinterest to feel positive. 3 in 10 say that about other social media platforms. Here's some examples of what people on Pinterest are saying. And my favorite part is that they're saying this on other social media platforms. Pinterest is the least toxic social media, and if any of y'all change that, I swear to God. Pinterest is a manifestation app. I will not be elaborating any further. And Pinterest is the best social media. Change my mind. We love hearing from our users that on Pinterest, they feel positive. A platform doesn't just become positive. You have to deliberately engineer it that way. And we take that seriously at Pinterest. As evidenced by our content policy decisions, we've always had a zero tolerance policy when it comes to harmful content and go the extra mile to make sure it has no room on our platform. We started this journey years ago when we prohibited ads for sensitive content in 2016, then blocking health misinformation in 2017. In 2018, we stopped running political ads. Next, we launched a thing called compassionate search for people seeking mental health support in 2019. And prior to the 2020 election, we directed people with election-related inquiries to vote.org. So let's talk about delivering inspiration during COVID-19 over the last year. In 2020, when COVID hit and we went into lockdown, we asked ourselves, how can we deliver inspiration and help our brands navigate this difficult moment? Quickly, we turned to our consumer insights and we initiated a regular cadence of sharing trends we're seeing on our platform. Our goal? To help brands understand how consumers were changing in real time so they can adjust their marketing and messaging as well. I won't bury the lead. Our insights unearthed some striking truths about how people use Pinterest to navigate life during COVID. When the crisis first hit, people were thinking about the basics of this new reality. We saw a 12x increase in searches for food storage and a 200% increase in searches about home office ideas, nearly 100% increase in home gym in the weeks that followed. Next, parents like myself were desperate to keep their kids on track in school and keep them entertained. And we saw a 50x increase in searches around homeschool schedule and an 11x increase in indoor activities for kids on the platform. And those same parents, like myself, took the next logical step, figuring out what to drink, hence an almost 250% spike for easy cocktail recipes. But then, even as the country was still in lockdown, something really interesting started happening. Our pinners became aspirational and positive, and positivity began to shine through again. People started planning for their future. Travel is a great example of this. We all felt cooped up in our homes, so road trips became the safest way to vacation. In May, we saw a 60% increase in road trip essentials. And in June, we saw a 520% increase in camping essentials. Throughout the lockdown months, of the pandemic, our present felt like it was on pause, forcing us to live in the future. The Atlantic published an article in April titled "The Strange Pleasure of Planning a Post-Pandemic Vacation." And their thesis was this: Pinterest can help people navigate ambient anxieties, such as the impossibility of traveling, by planning future trips and building a visual itinerary as a welcome window into life after the pandemic. With overwhelming feeling of escapism taking over, we saw searches related to travel grow to record highs on our platform, up 60% over 2019 pre-pandemic levels. So now fast forward to 2021, this growth has turned into pent-up demand, and people are showing that they're ready to make these trips a reality. In fact, Global Web Index has stated that 7 out of 10 people are planning a vacation this year. And specific to Pinterest, we're seeing that Pinners are researching their vacations at higher rates than non-Pinners as well. So I want to summarize our short time together today. Consumers and brands alike agree social media needs more positivity. Number 2, Pinterest is the world's inspiration company, and delivering inspiration matters more than ever. And finally, number 3, pent-up demand after a year of homebound escapism is real, and the travel industry is ready for the comeback. I'm going to finish with one more quick video on our newest brand-facing ad campaign called Be There Next, which I think will sum up our discussion nicely. Cool. Thank you all for the time today, and I'm happy to open it up for questions from the group.
Thanks so much. That was so interesting, and I'm over here jamming. This is great. So we have quite a few fans of Pinterest on the chat today, but can you talk a little bit more about how Pinterest moderates content to keep the positive vibes going?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's a really common one this day and age with social media. I'll start with Pinterest is pretty lucky because we're not a platform where people are going to see what others are saying and what others are doing to make comments and doom scrolling like I talked about earlier. People are really going there for themselves rather than for others. There's no kind of this keeping up with the Joneses feeling on likes and comments and followers. So that makes moderation a little bit easier because we're not moderating kind of a conversation that's going back and forth between people and comments. We're focusing our moderation on the actual pin and the content itself. The vast majority of our content is coming from online content images that are on websites and other places already. And so we've got a wide moderation team that makes sure the content we have that's in pinned form is meeting our standards. Otherwise, it won't ever make it on Pinterest to begin with.
Great. So there's a challenge that's gone viral on TikTok that's been called the Pinterest trend, where people search for others who look like them using Pinterest visual search tool. Does Pinterest have a point of view on this? And is the interesting connection between the two, does Pinterest have a point of view on this and the interesting connection between the two social media platforms?
Yeah, you know what? The trend of using our AI, our Pinterest lens, as we call it, as a tool in general, this tool was out there so that you can take a picture of something you see out in the world and you're not sure what it is, where you can find it, what are some ideas around it, and also that you can shop for it on Pinterest, is how Lens came to be. So you can use Pinterest, and in the search bar, there's a camera next to it. Instead of typing a search phrase for something you don't know about, when you don't know how to explain it, because we're such a visual platform, you could take a picture of it and pins that look very similar will come up. Specifically to what you're referencing is something that we've toyed around with for years, which is people are actually using that function and taking pictures of themselves and then seeing similar images and features come into their search results on Pinterest. We don't necessarily have a view on it on TikTok. I think it's great that it's coming to life, and I think a platform like TikTok and Pinterest kind of working back and forth is only a good thing. I would say too, something that's really interesting that we have taken a big role in for visual search is skin tones and makeup for people that use Pinterest for those types of things. And when people are looking for those kind of products on Pinterest, we take into the fact that people all look different, have different skin tones. And so we released a few years ago, embedded with our visual search, that people can actually look at that content and also pick what their personal skin tone is. And so they get results that are more related to them personally versus what they may found in kind of the greater internet.
There's a question around content creators. Well, actually two here. So Pinterest can be very focused on the pinner, but how did Pinterest support its content creators in 2020? And then to kind of piggyback on that, can you tell us more about the new Pinterest Creator Fund used to pay creators? How do you see this changing Pinterest?
Yeah, great question. And it is without a doubt the hottest topic and the focus of our company for 2021. There are three main groups that we focus on in Pinterest. Number one is the pinner, as you mentioned. Number two is the creator. And number three, that I spoke a little bit about earlier today, is our brands and our advertisers. They are providing a lot of the content as well. So those three groups are where we really focus our time at Pinterest. Creators are hugely important on our platform. They are not only coming up with a lot of the content on Pinterest, but they're also coming up with a lot of the trends and the things that we know are going to be the next thing to happen on Pinterest. Our focus on the Creators Fund this year is that we're working with not only creators that are well known, but creators that are not well known yet, the regular people in the world that are coming up with great content on Pinterest. And we're coming up with ways that they can be funded and actually make dollars from being a creator on Pinterest this year. That is newly released as of this week. And it's a great way for them to build a following and to grow a business as well. And that's something we're going to continue to focus on for 2021.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the business aspect. So what are the key differences between personal and business Pinterest?
Yeah, so the key differences are obviously how your profile is set up. If you're a business, you have a little bit more in terms of URL direction, where people can actually go to take action on your products and your pins. So you can drive them to your product catalog if you're a retailer, so that they can shop directly off of things people are being inspired on, and they can upload their catalog onto Pinterest so that your entire portfolio of products are available to be purchased, so people can move all the way from kind of that early inspiration of I'm shopping, I'm not sure exactly what I want, all the way to here's the product, and then here's checking out and actually purchasing it. And I think we've seen a lot of growth over the last year when people were a little bit more unable to shop and they were stuck at home. Pinterest grew 100 million new users in 2020 during the COVID months. It was the fastest we've grown in a long time. And shopping, I think, was a big reason for that. People were doing a lot of buying online, but they weren't necessarily doing a lot of shopping. And I think there's a very specific difference there, that Pinterest has a unique value proposition where people actually can go from the old kind of motto of kind of window shopping and kind of browsing all the way down to making that purchase.
I'm sure my husband who's listening in is like, you did plenty of shopping, please stop. So how difficult or easy was it for Pinterest to convince brands to advertise on the platform during COVID?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think when COVID first started, I think it was brands were being very safe and conservative with their dollars. And I think that was across the board, across everything, digital, TV, events, obviously. I mean, I think they were being very conservative because there was a lot of unknown. There was a lot of unknown about the future. There was a lot of unknown about how long it would last and what would happen with sales, what was going to happen in the economy, et cetera. But what we saw is as that initial uncertainty started to become more of learning how to be a brand kind of in the nature we were in, we actually saw that people and brands were shifting more dollars and more advertising to Pinterest because of the nature of our platform. It was positive, like we talked about today. It was helping people move all the way from inspiration to action across lots of different industries. And so we actually saw it gave us a chance. We didn't know this at the beginning, but it actually gave us a chance to gain market share on competitors and have brands shift more of their dollars into Pinterest. And I think that trend is continuing even kind of post-COVID and as we continue into 2021.
So for those of us with vacations on the brain, what regions or cities around the world are most popular in the Pinterest post-COVID plans?
Yeah, so I think that answer changes depending on which country people sit in and individual country rules and restrictions that they have in place. And of course, what we see people searching for in terms of destinations are changing regularly as restrictions change as well and different borders open up and things like that. Specific to probably most of us on the call today for the US, we're seeing a lot of trends growing with outdoor locations, whether that's national parks or beaches, places like that. A lot of people, a huge trend we saw in travel that's still continuing now as people are still able to be working from home, they're combining working from home with traveling and a vacation, and they're becoming what we're calling digital nomads, which are people that are almost taking a longer vacation at a place where they can also kind of post up and work from for 2, 3, 4 weeks or even more. And so we're seeing a lot of trends around locations that accommodate that well. So again, beaches, cabin-like places, mountains, just the great outdoors, and I think some of the islands as well. Puerto Rico has been a U.S. island that has definitely we've seen a lot of enthusiasm from people in America.
So I think we have time for one more question and then we'll wrap things up. But how does Pinterest maintain its clear brand purpose stance while also promoting brands on the platform that may or may not align with Pinterest's own purpose?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that's something we toy with a lot. I think the focus there is, how we work with brands, I think is really important. And what I mean by that is our job is to work with brands to make sure they understand why people are using Pinterest, right? What the use case is. And so we won't further working with a brand in a way that isn't going to help inspire pinners, right? They first get really familiar with not only our mission, but how the consumer is actually saying they're using Pinterest, what use case they're coming there for and what makes the most sense for their brand. And I think, what it comes down to is if they're using Pinterest in a way that's not right for the consumer, it's not right for what we call the pinner, their advertising and their time and money spent on Pinterest probably won't perform as well as it would elsewhere. And so, naturally the results help steer them in a direction that's going to really benefit not only them as a brand, but their consumers that are on Pinterest as well.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. Our next Sheller Lunchtime Live session is Friday, April 23rd at 12 p.m. Eastern. The topic is Transformational Leadership, How to Be a Change Agent, featuring Sheller alumna and Regional CIO of North America at Novellus, Elizabeth Bacon. Elizabeth will share how to become a transformational leader and change agent, leading large teams to solve real-world problems. You can register for this event and learn more about future Sheller Lunchtime Live sessions by following the Georgia Tech Sheller College of Business on LinkedIn. A recording of this session and future sessions will be available on our LinkedIn and YouTube pages as well. Thank you all for joining.